Hey guys, thanks for joining me for this week's episode of Crazy Nutrition. Today I am here to talk to you about fad diets. So, fad diets are called fad diets because they seem to gain wide popularity pretty quickly with bold promises, right? And then they lose their shine and sparkle over the long term because they can't seem to live up to those promises long term. So, when I say that they make bold promises, I pretty much just mean that they offer a plan to lose a decent amount of weight in a short period of time. So while they can live up to that promise, which is great, they don't offer a permanent solution to keeping that weight off because they are unsustainable for normal people. In other words, they're usually just an extreme way of eating that can help you to lose some weight, but it's not really something that people should or would want to follow for their entire lives. So once you resume back to eating normally, the weight is going to come back as well. So let's talk about some pros of a fad diet, some great things that you can get out of it. So if you are looking to shed weight fairly quickly, a lot of fad diets can help you to do that. If you just have a few extra pounds to lose too, this could also be a great option. If you're struggling with that last 5 pounds, maybe a fad diet is a good way to get it gone. But usually, I'd say if you're going to follow the plan exactly, most people can do it. Especially in the beginning, the weight might fall off really quick, and a lot of people are happy with that. But secondly, if someone who is overweight is going to commit to doing a fad diet, they're focusing on their health, and that's actually what's important. So even if the fad diet doesn't work overall or doesn't work long term, they're still taking that first step in the right direction to try and make a change and to reconsider their eating habits to become healthier, and that's what we want. That's a good thing. So if you've taken the step to do a fad diet and you're here now watching this video like, that's okay. You're still focusing on your health, and that's a good thing. But let's talk about the cons of fad diets. So as I mentioned before, it's really not something that's sustainable for your whole life or really long term. So I don't know, think about it. Do you think that you could go the rest of your life without ever eating a single carbohydrate? Or do you think that you can just eat smoothies for the rest of your life? Right? That doesn't really sound like something that anyone would really want to do forever, right? So you'd need to have a plan before deciding to resume back to normal eating, because if you do things like that, yes, you might lose some weight, but what happens once you start eating normal again? Say you cut carbs out completely and then you put them back. What's going to happen? That weight's going to come back on. So in order to not be disappointed by that, you need to have a plan because it's not sustainable. Also, I guess many types of food that we eat is going to cause us to lose water weight. So they cause us to retain a certain amount of water weight. So if we take them out of our diets, usually that water weight will fall off right in the beginning. That's the first thing that'll happen, which is oftentimes why you see that you'll lose a lot of weight in the beginning of a diet, like right away. That's because the water weight's falling off because you cut out the foods that are causing you to hold some water weight. Water weight's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that, some foods will help you to retain water a little bit more. So like carbohydrates, sodium, things like that. So if you take those out, it'll fall off, right? But you can bet that when you go back to eating normal, that water weight will come back on and you might be disappointed. Now, water weight's not necessarily a bad thing. I suppose it depends on how much of it you are retaining, but I mean, it's totally normal. So if you go back to your normal eating plan, that water weight will also come back. I guess the last thing I'm going to mention is how unhealthy it is for your body to sustain following an extreme fad diet, followed by regaining weight, and then deciding on a different fad diet, and then regaining that weight again, and so on and so forth, kind of in that back and forth cycle. So that's actually going to be more traumatic to your body than just being overweight in general. So it's important to be sure to think it through before you decide to choose a fad diet or have a plan. That's important, okay? At the end of the day, you should always be looking for a nutrition plan that's sustainable long-term. The ones that don't offer a quick fix, but rather a long-term solution is going to be the best and healthiest for you and your body, and it's also going to be the most sustainable. Excuse me. So if a diet is offering to have you lose more than like 1 to 2 pounds per week, you should probably question whether or not it's healthy and sustainable. Like lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks. Something about that sounds awesome. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's tons of people who say, I want to do that. That's great. But think about it. What is it that they're taking away from what you're doing now that's going to cause that to happen so fast? And if it was that easy, why isn't everyone doing it, right? Always be questioning and thinking. There's always new information in the nutritional world, and it's important that you're always looking at it with kind of your head on straight and saying, okay, what are the pros and cons here, okay? So always just decide whether or not something is healthy and sustainable for you and choose the route that will be.